Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into something you interact with every single day, probably without even thinking about it, the color on your clothes. We're going to go all the way from raw fiber to the fashion you wear and uncover the secrets of how fabrics get those amazing colors and patterns.
Seriously, just take a quick look at what you're wearing right now. Is it a solid color? Does it have a pattern? Have you ever just stopped and wondered how that specific shade of blue or that perfectly repeating floral design actually got there? Well, it turns out it's a pretty fascinating story, a perfect mix of science and art.
Okay, so the first big thing to get our heads around is the difference between dyeing and printing. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Dyeing is like taking a hard-boiled egg and just dipping it into a cup of color. The whole thing, inside and out, becomes one solid, uniform color. Printing, on the other hand, is like taking a marker and drawing a cool design on that egg. You're adding color to specific spots to create a pattern. So one is all about total immersion, the other is about targeted application.
Now, when it comes to dyeing, maybe the most important decision a manufacturer has to make is when to add the color. Believe it or not, there are 4 key moments in the whole production process where color can be introduced, and the choice they make completely changes the final look and feel of the fabric.
So these are the 4 big moments. You can add color way back at the beginning to the raw fibers, or you can wait until it's spun into yarn, or even later when it's a whole sheet of fabric, or you can even wait until the very end when it's a finished piece of clothing. Each choice isn't just about timing, it's a creative decision that really defines what the final product will be. Let's break down what each of these actually creates.
So let's start at the very beginning, with fiber dyeing. This is when you apply color to loose clumps of material, like raw cotton or wool, before they're even spun into a single thread. This method is the secret behind those beautiful, multi-toned heathered looks you see. By dyeing different batches of fibers different colors and then blending them all together to spin the yarn, you get that rich, textured effect that makes so many sweaters look so cozy.
Next up, we've got yarn dyeing. So here, we let the fibers get spun into yarn, and then we dye the spools of yarn themselves. This is how so many of those classic patterns are born. Think about a plaid shirt. You're not printing that pattern onto a white piece of fabric, no way. You're actually weaving together yarns that are already colored. Red, blue, white, you name it. And you're literally building the pattern right into the fabric structure. It's why the pattern looks so crisp and is on both sides of the material. And then we get to the absolute workhorse of the industry, fabric dyeing. You'll also hear it called piece dyeing. It's exactly what it sounds like. You make a huge roll of uncolored fabric first, and then you dye the entire piece all at once. So that solid colored t-shirt you have, or your bed sheets, they were almost certainly dyed at this stage. It's by far the most common and efficient method out there. And finally, we have garment dyeing. This is the last possible second you can add color. The entire piece of clothing, a t-shirt, a pair of shorts, whatever, is completely sewn together in a neutral color, and then the whole finished thing gets tossed into a dye bath. This gives brands, especially in the world of fast fashion, incredible flexibility. They can make a million white t-shirts and then right at the last minute dye them in whatever color is suddenly trending on social media. Okay, so that pretty much covers dyeing, how we get solid colors. But what about all those amazing patterns we see on everything? Well, that brings us to printing. And the story of fabric printing is really a journey through technology, from ancient hands-on art to today's digital world. The way printing has evolved is really a story of getting faster and more complex. We started way back with block printing, where artists would painstakingly hand-carve wooden blocks for every single color, a slow but absolutely beautiful process. Then came screen printing, which let us create more complex designs by pushing ink through a mesh screen. That eventually got mechanized into rotary printing, which could churn out fabric really fast. And all of that brings us to today's big revolution, digital printing.
Digital printing is, and I'm not exaggerating here, a total game changer for modern fashion. It works basically just like your inkjet printer at home, but on a massive scale and for fabric. This completely unshackles designers. Suddenly, they can use an unlimited number of colors, they can create photorealistic images, and they can print unbelievably complex designs at high speed. This technology is exactly what makes things like personalized t-shirts or small, quick fashion runs possible.
But color today is so much more than just dye and ink. Modern textile science lets us create some truly amazing special effects that add texture, shine, and even a little bit of magic to our clothes. This is where the science of style gets really, really creative. Before we jump into those cool effects, it's really important to know that not all dyes work on all fabrics. It's all about chemistry.
So, natural fibers, like cotton, need dyes that form a really strong chemical bond to stick around. But synthetic fibers, like polyester, need dyes that are applied with a lot of heat, so they basically melt into the plastic fibers. Getting the right pairing is absolutely key to making a color that lasts.
So, beyond just basic printing, there are these incredible techniques that add texture and cool visual effects. You've got foil printing, which uses a special adhesive to stick a thin metallic sheet to the fabric for a brilliant shine. Then there's flock printing, which glues these tiny little fibers onto the fabric to create a raised, velvety texture you can actually feel. And then there's discharge printing, which is super clever. Instead of adding color, you use a chemical to remove the color from a fabric that's already been dyed, creating a pattern that way.
And the technology just keeps getting more and more futuristic. There are now smart inks that can actually change color right before your eyes. Thermochromic inks react to temperature. You might remember those t-shirts from the 90s that changed color when you touch them. And there are also photochromic inks that change color when they're exposed to sunlight. It's literally wearable science. Of course, we can't have a conversation about making textiles today without talking about the environment. The dyeing and printing industry uses an enormous amount of water and energy, so the shift towards sustainability is one of the most important stories happening in fashion right now.
And the industry is responding in a few really important ways. There's a big renewed interest in natural, plant-based dyes. New technologies are popping up that allow for low water dyeing. Digital printing, which we just talked about, is also a much greener choice because it uses way less water and creates less waste. And finally, there's a huge push to get rid of harmful chemicals, like certain azo dyes and heavy metals, from the whole process.
So after all this work, choosing the right dye, the right time, the right printing method, the very last step is to make sure that color is both tough and safe. This all comes down to rigorous quality control. Fabrics are tested for color fastness, which basically means, is the color going to bleed all over your other clothes in the wash or fade in the sun? They're checked for perfect shade matching between different batches, and they're tested to make sure they meet safety standards like Oeko-Tex to ensure there are no harmful substances left on the clothes you buy.
So there you have it. We've gone from a puff of raw fiber all the way to a finished piece of fashion. We've seen how a simple choice of when to dye can create everything from a cozy heathered sweater to a classic plaid shirt, and how technology now lets us print almost any image we can dream of onto fabric. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. The next time you get dressed, take a closer look at your clothes. What story will its color tell?